Planter update March 1st. We have the left side pretty much done, minus the hydraulic hoses. Vacuum piping installed, CCS hoses installed. Hoses to the inner plants and the corn rows. These are the original hoses. These all had to be ordered new as they were not the right length. 41s, 48s. They do make a 53 long, which is what somebody had put on this planter, even though factory it should have been a 41 and a 48. So I was able to reuse some of the original hoses, but only a select few. We did reuse most of the vacuum piping, minus a couple cracked pieces. Vac motor was replaced with the vac housing, and fan was fine. So you can tell this units get pretty tight, as I've heard in the comments several times. And I've been asked also several times, how do you lock these up? And you can hydraulically raise them. And there is a lock lever right here, which if you reach down in between here, this snaps this way. Then you raise it up and it locks into position. It'll hold the unit up for planting corn. It'll elevate the inner plant units about that far out of the ground at all times. Now all we're waiting on this side is the wing harness and to install the hydraulic hoses for the wing, or the markers. And on the other side, we are still waiting on the last 3 row units to show up, which have been promised. We're stacking up parts, which we did go to Shoop and buy the hose and the vacuum hoses, as they were just much cheaper. And I did get the hydraulic manifolding installed that goes up here for the pneumatic, or the hydraulic down pressure system. And it would have a pneumatic air compressor on here if I had to buy the kit. The harness here is getting laid out for it, and it would sit over here if we choose to add it down the road. But for what we're doing with this planter right now, we're not going to add it, but we're going to have it ready. And you can see this comes factory capped. Okay, update March 9th. Today we had a good day because we had the wing harnesses come in. This was one of the key things to concluding this project that we were waiting on and very worried that we were going to get. The row units will be here towards the end of the month. They have said that they're guaranteed, which is a sigh of relief. But these wing harnesses, we finally backed them up to an emergency order, and we got them. The other thing I'm waiting on is a few hoses that connect the row units. Worst case scenario with the hoses, we could just have them fabricated. Well, I prefer not to. But the wing harnesses was one that we could not fabricate, and we're having a hard time getting, and I was very worried about getting it. But as I mentioned in the series of videos previous, this kit is a universal kit, and this wing harness would be the correct one for this amount of row units, or up to 16 I should say. Alright, I got the wing wiring harness installed. Looks good. Everything is cabled up. And then again, it is a universal harness, so it's designed for a 30 or 40 inch row spacing machine. This being a 30 with their inner plants, so each one's set at 30, then they have a offshoot one in between for the inner plants. So the in-betweens worked out fine. The 30 inch spacings had to be coiled up on each one of them, but that's why they give you these brackets. So we coil. And then this end one, because it's 16, it gets a terminator and put in here with all the rest of the wiring on this other end. Which at this point, if you've noticed, there's a lot of wiring involved. Just coming around here at the back, everything looks good. Just a lot to hook up. Now over here, I had to install a row unit switch, and I did throw a quick tag on it just so I wouldn't lose it. But that's going to go down here to this switch we just put in, which is called a momentary switch. And while I'm there working on it, I thought I'd show you guys the lockups, because most of you guys are asking questions about that. So you can kind of see probably a good 8 inches off the ground there or so is how high that locks up. And again, that's just an over center lever, and it locks up into that notch. So if you want to plant corn, that's how high your inner plant unit's set. Probably at least 8 inches high. So entirely disengages them for corn planting. Alrighty, March 10th, another update here. We're moving on. Pretty much the left side's done, minus the row unit hoses, which we're still waiting on, and we're waiting on these last 3 units to come in still. We did get the main supply line hoses in here, leaving these so they can just float around the corner here. Don't want anything too tight. And again, float valve blocks mounted where the instructions say to mount it, as well as the tone ring is in the wheel there, which picks up motion speed, and this is a height sensor, which is a potentiometer, and this goes up and down, and that's the best place I could find to mount it. You can set the start and stop height, so hopefully it works. I got the rest of the vacuum tube put together, and we have the last remaining parts scattered on the floor here, but everything's organized, and just the correct amount of parts are here, not any extras. We've went through everything, cataloged it, so basically we're just waiting on the 3 row units and a few other little parts, and we're going to put the final wraps on this project. Some of you guys are asking about row unit tillage. I did pick up a used set of coulters. These will all get cleaned up, and I'll paint them. I did get new bolts and hardware for them, and they came with 13-weight blades, but these blades are shot. As soon as the sharp edge here goes off, we throw them away. They just wore out at that point, so we will be getting new blades. Now, I intend to do a complete video on row unit tillage and my thoughts on how to set up a planter properly. There's a lot of debate on what to do with this one, and a lot of debate as to how to do it affordably. But we're going to go ahead and just run probably a new 13-weight blade on there. Even though I don't like it, they say to cut about a ½ inch above your seed depth. We're probably factory blades actually cutting 3/8 below. I don't like that part of it. I wish I could find an undersized blade or an aftermarket company that made a smooth blade, just a slash material. Again, we'll talk about that in upcoming different videos, but I think for what we're going to do just for this year, because I was able to get those very cheap, we're just going to put them on here and go for it and hope they work. This is just going to get run in soybeans this year. And here it is, April, the moment you guys have been waiting for. Completion. The planter assembly is done, completed. Everything is put together. I did not put the coulters on it. I don't know how I feel about the coulters, and there is a plug on the hitch that you guys will see in the video clip where I had 2 little red zip ties. And the reason I put red zip ties is that's the wiring harness for the compressor. I may go ahead and install that wiring harness, add the valve bank at some point down the road, then put residue managers on it, because I'm just not big on no-till coulters. Story for a different day. But anyway, the planter is done. It's all put together. It is ready to go to the field. But before we go drop it in the ground, we're going to check everything for leaks. We're going to check air, software, just anything we can think of, even the lights. And then we'll go put it in the field. I'm rather pleased with how everything turned out. Detail orientation was the main focal point on this. So I really did the best that I could do with the limited tools that I have to make it look like something that John Deere would have built. And I'm real happy with how it ended up turning out. So it looks good. Again, ready to go to the field with it very soon. Once our weather starts cooperating. It was real dry here, and we planted a lot of corn early, but now it's gotten cold and wet, and it looks like it may stay that way till May. Part of me wants to run some acres on this year just to see how it performs. The other part of me says we're going in so early with things that I may not even need it. We'll see. Regardless, it'll be used in the future. I really liked the build, and it gets my creative mind going for maybe another build in the future. Everybody says I should build planters. Not something I really wanted to do, although another planter, if you caught my last video where I talked about that 1795, possibly another build may be in the future. But this customized thing that we have here that you're seeing is definitely something that wasn't available on the market, and something that I know will work in the way I want it to be. So I'm quite thrilled about it and look forward to using it a lot in the future. Some of you have asked if I was going to sell this thing. I don't plan to, although I wouldn't rule it out for the price is right, but I don't plan to. I'm just really happy the way everything came out looking. I think the look built, I mean, it looks like something John Deere would have made. And if you followed the video series, there's a few places, like I said, that my limitations were tooling and having to work with an existing platform. But if I could ever get into it and buy the componentry right, then taking something like this, making it even better yet, is something that I've learned to do and something that would be fun to do, actually. So, again, pretty thrilled the way it came out with what I had to work with. Again, quite a bit of used materials here that went into it. So, hope you enjoyed the series, and we'll see you in the field.